You won't believe it. More than 6 times the people of the Titanic. Over 10,500. On January 30th, 1945, they boarded a ship thinking they'd escape safely. In just a few minutes, it turned into history's most terrifying sea disaster. Was it a war crime? Who's to blame? I'm uncovering the full mystery right now. Don't leave before the end. Picture the frost-kissed dawn breaking over the bustling docks of Gotenhafen, a vital port city nestled along the Baltic coast near Danzig, now known as Gdansk, in the occupied Polish corridor, where on that pivotal January 30th in 1945, the relentless winter wind swept through the throngs of people with a piercing chill, mingling the scents of pine from nearby forests with the sharp tang of sea salt and diesel fumes, as whispers of hope and determination echoed amid the final stages of a vast European conflict that had profoundly altered borders, economies, and everyday lives across the continent for more than 5 years. This era saw the German war machine grappling with severe resource scarcities and evolving battle lines, sparking large-scale relocations such as Operation Hannibal, a comprehensive naval initiative to ferry civilians, military personnel, and key workers from eastern regions westward to more secure areas, motivated by the political need to sustain workforce and spirit in the wake of mounting pressures from advancing forces in the east. The MV Wilhelm Gustloff, an impressive vessel emerging from the aspirations of the German Labour Front's Strength Through Joy initiative, loomed as a prominent fixture at the pier, her once vibrant white hull now cloaked in subdued navy grey, her expansive decks resonating with the hurried patter of thousands eager for safe passage. Families hailing from East Prussia gripping tightly to their bundled possessions, naval trainees clad in orderly uniforms, female auxiliary helpers with resolute gazes, all interwoven into a social fabric shaped by wartime rationing, collective endeavours, and the economic drive for structured recreation that had characterized her initial purpose. Constructed with grandeur in the Hamburg shipyards of Blohm and Voss, launched amid ceremony on May 5th, 1937, after her keel was laid on August 1st, 1936, and completed on March 15th, 1938, at a cost of 25 million Reichsmarks. She spanned 208.5 meters in length, 23.59 meters in beam, with a gross register tonnage of 25,484, a draft of 6.5 meters, a height of 56 meters from keel to masthead, featuring 5 decks, propelled by 4 MAN 8-cylinder diesel engines, generating 9,500 horsepower to drive twin 4-blade propellers, achieving a cruising speed of 15.5 knots and a range of 12,000 nautical miles. Initially intended to carry the name of the highest leader, but renamed in tribute to Wilhelm Gustloff, the Swiss branch leader of the National Socialist Party, whose passing in 1936 inspired the shift, she represented the period's fusion of promotional efforts and societal benefits. Her accommodations designed for 1,465 passengers across 489 cabins of uniform size to embody egalitarian principles, supported by a peacetime crew of 417, including lavish lounges, a versatile swimming pool space for assemblies, and a special suite for prominent guests. Her interiors adorned with gleaming wood panels, plush textiles, and contemporary conveniences that once reverberated with merriment on sun-soaked excursions to distant locales. During those pre-conflict years, commencing with her informal maiden voyage from March 24th to 27th, 1938, transporting Austrians to bolster sentiments of unity, to serving as a seaborne voting venue off Tilbury, England, on April 10th, 1938, where 1,172 Germans and 806 Austrians submitted 1,968 affirmative votes and 10 negative in a showcase of synchronized travel and governance. The Gustloff epitomized aspiration and respite for the labouring classes. Her journeys, encompassing a collective cruise to the Madeira Islands from April 21st to May 6th, 1938, where musical performances and shared repasts nurtured fellowship, transporting over 80,000 voyagers on 60 expeditions by August 26, 1939, with halts amid Norway's majestic fjords, Italy's scenic shores, and notably a compassionate operation on April 1st, 1938, when she dispatched lifeboats to assist the beleaguered British freighter Pegaway in a tempestuous North Sea, safely retrieving all 19 crew members amidst surging waves and gusting winds. Imagine if you were there on one of those blissful outings, sensing the gentle mist of warm sea spray upon your cheeks as the vessel sliced through vibrant blue waters, the aroma of freshly baked bread drifting from the galley intertwining with the invigorating ocean breeze, the smooth feel of starched linen napkins beneath your fingertips at mealtime, the melody of accordion tunes wafting over the deck beneath a canopy of twinkling stars. Youngsters dashing about with joyful exclamations while grown-ups exchanged tales of workshop routines back on land. The subtle sway of the hull cradling you into a feeling of shared tranquility that appeared to rise above the emerging shadows of global discord. Yet, as the globe veered into strife on September 1st, 1939, the Gustloff was commandeered by the Navy, initially repurposed as a hospital ship adorned with red crosses and a green band on her white exterior, fulfilling that function until November 20th, 1940, before being recolored in grey and converted into a floating dormitory in the protected harbour of Gotenhafen, accommodating approximately 1,000 trainees for the 2nd Submarine Training Division. Her formerly opulent quarters now outfitted, with berths, instructional areas, and the steady cadence of boots on metallic steps. The atmosphere dense with the odour of machinery lubricant, moist woolen attire, and the subtle metallic hint of seawater trickling through viewing ports. For more than 4 years, she remained moored in this tactical harbour, redesignated from Gdynia during the occupation, its storage facilities and hoists teeming with wartime commerce in lumber, coal and provisions. The urban avenues vibrant, with the rhythmic clip-clop of equine hooves on stone pavements, groaning wagons burdened with merchandise, and the lively banter of residents bargaining in bazaars over allocated potatoes, loaves and seafood, where smiths pounded at anvils, sending sparks soaring like miniature constellations. Pupils in woolen headgear hastened to classes through the sludge of early vernal melts or the accumulations of wintry snow, and inn-patrons swapped subdued conversations over cups of substitute coffee. The surrounding milieu a fusion of industrial, tenacity and seaside allure, with the Baltic's hazy skylines and the fragrance of evergreen from adjacent woodlands, merging into routine patterns influenced by fiscal regulations and communal rallying. By early 1945, as governmental transformations and armed exigencies escalated, Gotenhafen burgeoned with evacuees from East Prussia, the Baltic regions, and further afield, ethnic Germans, Lithuanians, Latvians, Poles, Estonians, even Croatians, seeking refuge from the turmoil with valises brimming with treasured keepsakes, the wharves a vortex of motion where waves lapped against timber supports, seabirds screeched aloft in the one winter illumination, and the frosty gusts bore the scent of pitch from newly sealed hulls alongside the soothing heat of broth from provisional cookeries. The Gustloff, equipped with 3 105mm anti-aircraft guns and 8 20mm cannons for safeguarding, was enlisted for Operation Hannibal, a synchronized campaign engaging numerous crafts to relocate over 2 million individuals westward, her concluding arrangements encompassing the addition of supplementary sleeping spots and the amassing of supplies, while prominent individuals such as Captain Friedrich Petersen, who stepped into command following the initial Captain Karl Luber's abrupt departure during the debut journey, supervised proceedings beside Lieutenant Commander Wilhelm Zahn, a submarine specialist, and 2 commercial maritime captains, their deliberations on the command deck rife with discussions on pathways. One advocating shallow seaside routes for security, another favouring deeper passages to evade perils, all within the financial constraints of fuel deficits and the societal mandate to house as many as feasible, resulting in an overburden exceeding her planned emergency limit of around 1,900, with approximations ascending to 10,582 souls, comprising 173 crew members, 918 officers and enlisted naval staff, 373 female naval aides, 162 recuperating soldiers, and 8,956 civilians, forging a transient seaborne society where room was scarce. Envision the embarkation vignettes on that icy morn, the mercury dipping to -18 degrees Celsius, snowflakes twirling in the ether like dainty plumes, the railings slick with frost that crackled beneath boots, voyagers swathed in thick, woolen overcoats and mufflers sensing the coarse fabric against their flesh, the atmosphere resonant with the whimpers of youngsters from the cold, matrons murmuring comforts, patriarchs diplomatically vying for superior positions with courteous insistence, the sporadic, trivial disagreement settled with a loaned coverlet or an amicable gesture, maybe a youthful lady ceding her place to a senior gentleman, or a household trading a portion of bread for a cozier nook, all as the port's surrounding orchestra unfolded, from the groan of walkways under burden to the spatter of tethering cords being fine-tuned, the remote toll of chimes from adjacent, sanctuaries denoting the time and the subtle, heartening drone of the power plants activating beneath. As midday neared, the queues extended further into the metropolis, where roadside merchants peddled 11th-hour goods, roasted chestnuts whose earthy fragrance pierced the frost, woven hand warmers with their plush, downy feel, or diminutive, wooden figurines to engage youthful palms throughout the transit. The regional commerce momentarily uplifted by this surge, metalworkers halting their mallets to observe the parade, scholars glancing from casements with inquisitive stares, alehouse, entrances oscillating to emit gusts of toasty, fermented ambience from inside. At last, at 12:30 in the afternoon, accompanied by the torpedo boats lower and an additional craft in proximity, albeit one would shortly retreat owing to technical difficulties, the Gustloff released her moorings, her screws agitating the murky waters into bubbly ivory, a muted acclaim ascending from the platforms blended with exhalations of alleviation, the liner slipping into the vast Baltic beneath a heavy firmament, the breeze plucking at headgear and neckwear, conveying the blended essences of brine, fuel, and the persistent evergreen from the coastline. Aboard, routine existence swiftly acclimated to the restrictions. Within the congested salons, individuals recounted narratives of abodes forsaken, the surface of faded snapshots exchanged from palm to palm, the whisper of folios flipping in, valued tomes, the heat of forms huddled near, repelling the intrusive chill that infiltrated through partitions. In the erstwhile natatorium zone, now an improvised sleeping hall, linens swished as kin nestled, the distant reverberation of strides above akin to a mild percussion, whilst kitchen staff apportioned heated stock whose flavorful vapor ascended, enticingly, slicing through the humid atmosphere laden with moisture from myriad exhalations. Imagine if you were there, nestled among unfamiliar faces evolved into allies, perceiving the constant tremor of the mechanisms via the iron decking, auditory to the tender slap of swells against the frame as dusk descended, the radiance diminishing to a mellow crepuscular sheen that tinted the ocean in hues of slate and deep blue, perchance exchanging a hushed chuckle over a recollected serene cruise, or murmuring schemes for a fresh commencement in Kiel, the mortal. Viewpoint 1 of endurance amidst ambiguity, where modest deeds of benevolence, a borrowed neckcloth, a crooned cradle song, interlace strands of optimism into the weave of the expedition. Nevertheless, hurdles endured securely in the domain of seamanship and ease. Dialogues on the helm concerning illumination, wayfinding beacons ignited to avert collisions with fellow vessels in the flotilla, their faint rays penetrating the encroaching twilight. Whilst beneath, the overpopulation prompted slight modifications, such as reorganizing baggage to liberate a corridor, or bargaining rotations for crisp air on the upper level, where the stinging gale flushed visages and the savor of salinity persisted on mouths. As obscurity intensified, the celestial bodies concealed behind veils of vapor, the craft advanced through undulations that cradled her softly. The surrounding engagements a calming offset, the squeak of beams, the far-off summons of a sentinel, the murmur of garments as an individual stirred in repose, the palpable solace of a woolen cover pulled firm against the escalating frost that grew with each elapsing moment. This odyssey, however, encountered a profound navigational trial around 9 in the evening, roughly 30 kilometers offshore between Władysławowo and Weber, when the vessel was impacted by actions from the Soviet submarine S-13, commanded by Captain Alexander Marinesko, a figure later honored posthumously as Hero of the Soviet Union in 1990, correcting misconceptions that he faced demotion prior to the incident, or that the ship retained hospital status as it had shed. That designation by 1940, repainted and armed for military utility, leading to a significant historic maritime incident that prompted widespread reflections on the intricacies of wartime decisions, the balance of military necessities against civilian safeguards, and the ethical dimensions of utilizing armed transports for evacuations, debates that persist in highlighting the grey zones of legality and morality without simplistic attributions of fault to any single party, whether German command for overcrowding and route choices, Soviet operations within the context of ongoing conflict, or the broader chaos of war that blurred lines between combatants and non-combatants. In addressing these nuances, historical accuracy dispels myths, such as the erroneous belief that the Gustloff operated as a hospital ship during her final voyage. She had transitioned from that role years earlier, no longer bearing protective markings and instead serving as a transport with defensive armaments, rendering her a valid objective under wartime protocols, though the presence of civilians aboard sparked ongoing discussions about proportionality and the moral imperatives of protecting innocence amid strategic imperatives. Comparisons to other notable maritime episodes underscore the era's pervasive challenges. The Lusitania, a British liner impacted during the First World War in 1915, carrying passengers, yet also munitions, leading to a pivotal shift in global sentiments. The Armenia, a Soviet medical vessel encountering difficulties in 1941 amid aerial actions, emphasizing the vulnerabilities of designated protective crafts. The Cap Arcona, another German liner repurposed as a prison ship and facing a tragic end in May 1945 through aerial intervention, with thousands of concentration camp detainees aboard, highlighting the complexities of misidentification and wartime intelligence. Or the General von Steuben and Goya, both succumbing to similar underwater encounters in February and April 1945 respectively, as part of the same evacuation efforts, each illustrating the precarious nature of seaborne relocations during conflict and the ethical quandaries of mingling civilian and military elements on such voyages. Philosophical contemplations arise from these events, probing the boundaries of warfare's ethics, the weight of survival choices under duress, and the human capacity for resilience in the face of profound upheaval, encouraging viewers to engage with multifaceted perspectives rather than unilateral narratives, acknowledging the shared humanity that transcends national divides. Human stories from survivors, shared safely through accounts of hope and endurance, add depth. Consider Heinz Schön, assistant purser, who later dedicated decades to chronicling the voyage's details, his efforts culminating in a legacy of remembrance, even requesting burial near the site's coordinates at 55 degrees 4 minutes 22 seconds north, 17 degrees 25 minutes 17 seconds east, 19 nautical miles offshore, now designated a protected zone. Or Egon Jelsen, a civilian crew member who, from a hospital bed, expressed profound gratitude for safety despite losing possessions, reflecting on the fragility of plans and the value of life. Or Hans Rittner, a Navy doctor who marveled at the ship's warmth and security amid the crowds, later pondering the swift turns of fate that tested communal bonds. These personal vignettes, free of graphic elements, connect audiences to familial and historical threads, evoking empathy for the ordinary citizens navigating extraordinary circumstances. Reflecting on this epoch accentuates the delicacy of intentions. Amid sweeping transformations, how common folk maneuvered fiscal adversities, official mandates, and societal disruptions with steadfast resolve, akin to the ship herself evolving from recreational emblem to wartime haven. Today, strolling the contemporary esplanade of Gdynia, one can discern vestiges of that period in the reconstructed jetties and derricks that presently manage vivid cargo vessels and passenger liners. The roadways now smoothly asphalted where once stone paths supported wagon loads, communal echoes enduring in galleries and inscriptions that honor the relocations, such as a porthole from the Gustloff exhibited on the museum ship Albatross in Damp, Germany, or scale replicas at the Les Beaux. Naval Memorial, even a bell on loan for displays in Berlin, evoking the trajectories of those who traversed these waters. The metropolis's lively bazaars continue to hum with negotiations over crisp harvests, the ether conveying akin fragrances of pastries and marine mist, pupils chortling in gardens gazing upon the bay, alehouses brimming with discourse much as before, though beneath serene heavens, the persistence a tribute to revival, where the Baltic's nebulous vistas prompt introspection on how antiquity's flows mold our contemporary, the lasting ethos of voyage and fellowship, linking past and present in subdued, meaningful manners, reminding us of the elementary delights once discovered aboard such liners, the coziness of joint feasts, the cadence of surges, the assurance of far-off coasts, safeguarded in repositories and recollections that venerate the mortal odyssey without lingering on its obscurities, fostering a nuanced appreciation for the moral intricacies that define our shared history.